Welcome to the Style Sports Hub, presented by UF Health Medical Group Orthopaedics.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Sports Hub podcast presented by UF Health Medical Group Orthopaedics and Lake Sumter State College. I'm your host, Kyle Coppola. We're joined today by Patrick Todd. He is the District Athletic Director of Lake County Schools. Pat, thanks for coming on to the program with us.
Hey, my pleasure. I really appreciate being here and really appreciate what you guys do for Lake County.
I appreciate that, Pat. And for those who don't know Pat, he's a legendary coach in our area. Been fun to watch your career over the last 36 years. You've been in education for 36 years. You've been a coach for that long. Well over 500 wins in your career at the high school and collegiate levels combined. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be the District Athletic Director for Lake County Schools.
Well, you know, when you talk about legendary, I'm not sure if that's a good or bad term. That usually just says you're old. And so, I was really lucky to have a lot of really good players, and good players make you look better than you are. And I've always said bad players can make you look worse than you are, but we were really fortunate to have good players for a long time. And so I was able to coach at 4 different high schools in Lake County, and fortunate enough that those players helped lead us to state playoffs in all 4 schools. Coached a little Division I basketball, was a NEI Division I head coach, and collegiate athletic director, been an athletic director, principal, headmaster of a private school here in Lake County. So I've been really fortunate to be helped by a lot of great people and great kids, and really feel blessed to have had the interactions I've had.
So what's your job entail now? Because you were at the athletic director at Umatilla High School. You built a great program over there, 3 straight winning seasons over there, which was fantastic to watch. You made the playoffs the last 2 years, and then you transitioned into this role, and now you're overseeing all the schools in Lake County, which must be pretty fulfilling for you.
Well, it's really exciting to be able to work with principals, athletic directors, coaches, and ultimately student athletes to try to really create a better product and a better student-athlete experience. And so I think one of the things that intrigued me when Mr. Farnsworth, who's our assistant superintendent, began to talk to me about the opportunity is I had a vision that was maybe a little bit different than what we've had in the past, and wrapped around trying to develop champions of character. He was intrigued by that, and I think we're in a culture right now that the character part is not always emphasized, and we want to emphasize that in a different way. Mm-hmm. I think that when we talk about building championship programs, and when we're in athletics, that's what you're talking about, but really that should be a byproduct of a process. And so when a kid plays for 4 years for any one of our high schools, what do we hope to produce when they graduate? And I'm hoping we're producing a well-rounded student athlete that's ready to engage at the collegiate level, at the highest level academically, athletically, but more importantly, when they finish their academic journey, they come back to our community as the next leaders of tomorrow. And so if we can instill those those foundational core values through our athletic programs, now I think we're talking about really developing programs that are about champions of character. And so we don't want to sacrifice winning, but I don't think we want to sell out to winning at a level that puts us in a place where we're not producing great young men and young women.
You hit the nail on the head right there, especially. You talk about kids who graduate and come back and give back to the community. One of those kids that came back and has grown into a fine young man is Colt McDowell. He has built a fantastic program at the Villages. It's one of the top programs in the area right now. And then you also talk about guys like Damani Nettles for Leesburg. He's come back and he's coaching over there. And then you think about Coach Nino Green, who comes back to Eustis. He's a coach over there right now. So that's really great to see.
It is great to see, and I've got connections to all those people at some point. For Coach Nettles, I coached his father. For Coach Green, I coached him in high school. For Colt, I coached him in high school. We've got 2 young men at Umatilla who Dustin Dunham, who played for me at Florida College, and of course my son Hayden Todd's the head coach there, and they played together at FC. And so we have a number of coaches coming back to the system that produced them, mm-hmm. and hopefully they're going to impact kids at a different level. And that's really exciting to see. And not to mention that, when you think about some of the coaches that we have some outstanding X and O guys. Mm-hmm. We really do. Guys that are starting to understand that to run great systems, you got to change skill sets. Mm-hmm. And so both in football, basketball, baseball, volleyball. Those are, you can X and O and talk about what kind of system you want to run, but if those student athletes don't have those skill sets, it makes it difficult. So I think we're starting to see a shift there, a dynamic shift that's good. And I think the piece that we want to concentrate on is how do we develop programs and not rebuild rosters.
And you talk about the rebuilding of the rosters and stuff like that, and kids able to transfer. You got the Florida school choice. Things are a little bit different, I would imagine, than 30 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. The rules are incredibly different. When I first got into coaching in 1988, wherever you grew up, that's the school you went to, and it took an act of Congress for you to go somewhere else. And today now we have open enrollment, and people can transfer in season, out of season. There's just so many different loopholes that allow kids to manipulate around in ways that weren't there before. And, some people can say, well, those are all good things. There are some good things about it. There's also some fallout to that. And I think where we want to do is embrace the new rules, but embrace them in such a way that still leads us to a place where we're developing programs that emphasize championship character and championship results on the fields and courts. And when you think about the business of education, we're in the business of growing kids. So every coach, every athletic director on every campus has to be a part of the success story of that campus. If not, why not? And that's the piece that we really want to concentrate on is let's be great in our particular sports because that's our platform. But if that's the only thing I'm doing is to teach a kid to put a ball in a basket, I think we fail them at the highest level. What are we going to do to help them become great men and women? And our sport gives them an opportunity to do that. The power of influence that a coach has on their campus is so incredibly important, not just for the student athletes they coach, but for other people. Yeah. So we've got to use those power of influences to be really an integral part of the success story academically on our campuses. And I think when we get young coaches to embrace that, now we have something special and different in Lake County. If you have a great program, if your basketball program or football program is winning at a high level, producing college-eligible players, not college recruitable players, there's a difference. Kids can be a recruitable kid, but in reality, are they a qualifier? So we want college-ready kids. Why wouldn't any parent, if they have the ability, to want to look at that program and maybe move their child? That's the way the rules are. I think where we want to draw the line is we're not a college. So we're not going to have recruiting coordinators. We're not going to use 7-on-7 and AAU basketball to coach someone else's kids to influence them to come to our schools. We would hope that if we have the great kind of program, a kid wants to come to us and a parent wants to call a principal and set that meeting up, hey, by all means. But that's the methodology that I think the spirit of those rules were really written.
One of the things I think is also great for the community as a whole is the graduation rate that recently came out for Lake County schools. A lot of our schools are up over 90%. I think Leesburg had the highest in their history. Mount Dora had the highest in their history. They graduated 99%, I think, for Mount Dora, which was unbelievable. And you think about some of the kids that are coming and funneling through the programs. I think about the Seppi twins at Mount Dora High School, and they have extremely high GPAs, got recruited. The kids at Mount Dora Christian Academy, of course, the Roach brothers, they have high GPAs, and you have these kids coming through the programs, and they're not just great athletes, it's also about academics. Is that something that you're trying to stress?
Well, when you think about our core values, we talk about the total package, and I don't want to take credit for creating that moniker. It actually came from a good friend of mine, Steve Ritter at Emory-Riddle, 25 years ago, and Steve and I were good friends and still friends today, but I really felt like he hit on something that was important to me, and I think every good idea, coaches are famous for stealing things, and so, but when we think about a total package, we're talking about student, person, player. I don't want to sacrifice any piece of that. I want to be great students. I want to be great people, and I hope they're going to be great players. And anything less than that, we're missing the mark. And so I really think as a coach, self-reflection is important. I had a team that we won our 30th game. We're heading to the regional finals. This is back when you could play 28 in a regular season. And he's passed away now. Joe Williams asked me, Coach, this is the best team you ever had? And I didn't think about it. I just said, I don't know. Joe asked me in 10 years. And a couple of days later, he called me and said, what did you mean by that remark? I said, well, in 10 years, I'll find out what kind of men they are, what kind of parents they're going to be, what kind of husbands they're going to be, what kind of employees they're going to be. And now I'll let you know if it was our best team. And I really believe that sounds corny, but I believe in that. What are we really producing? How do I know that we're in a world that doesn't always embrace this, but I do. I think you got to be authentic to who you are. I think I'm going to have to stand accountable for the time I've had with my kids, with my players. What do I do with them as a classroom teacher? What did I do with them in my math classroom? When you have self-reflection, I don't think you'll like all the answers, but I think it'll make you better tomorrow. And that's the kind of mindset that I hope we're going to infiltrate into our coaching community in Lake County.
It's an awesome mindset to have. We're going to take a short break here on the Sports Hub. We're going to come back with more with the District Athletic Director of Lake County, Patrick Todd, momentarily. We'll be right back.
Pain or restricted range of motion keeping you on the sidelines? Get back in the game with expert orthopedic care from UF Health Medical Group Orthopaedics. UF Health Medical Group Orthopaedics provides robotic-assisted surgical joint repairs and replacements, post-operative care, and inpatient rehabilitation services, all close to home, right here in Lake and Sumter counties. And for those unexpected injuries, UF Health Medical Group Orthopaedics offers convenient walk-in and same-day appointments. To learn more or to schedule an appointment with one of their specialists, call 352-323-5665.
Hey everybody, we are back here on the Sports Hub podcast with Patrick Todd, the District Athletic Director for Lake County Schools. Pat, thanks for coming on for us.
Glad to be here.
We're talking about all sorts of topics. We want to talk a little bit about the principals in our area at the high school level. They've been doing some great things. You talk about Brent Frazier out at Umatilla High School. He's been doing some incredible things with that program out there. Of course, you're coming from
Right.
Umatilla High School. So talk a little bit about our principals and what they mean to Lake County.
Well, I tell you what, I'm really encouraged by what I see on all of our campuses, both high school and middle school. But when you think about our high school principals, you can't help but think about Julie Llewellyn out at East Ridge, who has been doing it at such a high level for such a long time. And I think a compliment to her is that a lot of our principals that are moving on are actually coming through her AP program. And so Julie's done a great job out there. I've known Julie for such a long time, have a great respect for her. Brent Frazier, I think, is a superstar in so many different ways because he is so compassionate about helping kids, but yet has that other balance about academic excellence and then how to work the matrix of what schools are really graded by. If you look at our graduation rates across our district, I don't know if people are cheering for that as high as they should, but those numbers are really outstanding, and we're having schools that have been excellent still reaching new heights, and schools that have struggled all of a sudden now setting benchmarks that are, I think, going to be the standard bearer for what we would expect in Lake County. Our goal is to have every school to be an A and a B, and we certainly aren't there, but I think we're on the right path, and I think we have good leadership there. I'm really encouraged by what I see at our middle schools. We have a lot of younger principals at our middle school levels. But I'm just looking at our two schools here in Leesburg. They're moving those schools. Those are excited to see. I'm on all those campuses on a pretty monthly, regular basis, probably to a point where some of them are tired of seeing me. But my philosophy is you can't serve people you don't intimately know. So it's been really neat to not only talk to them about their athletic situation, but the partnership between athletics and academics is inevitable if you're going to reach your potential. And so how do we connect with those student athletes who may be passionate about athletics, but maybe not quite as passionate about their classroom opportunities? How do we bridge that gap and use the people that can influence them the right way? Everybody's got to touch a kid, and I think our principals have really embraced that. And so I'm super excited about where we are and really excited about our leadership of the district.
As far as athletics go, some people say you got to start in the elementary or middle school levels. Some kids don't play until they reach high school, but I feel like they do such a good job at the middle school level of coaching these kids, getting them ready for debuts on the varsity level as well. Some of those kids, of course, Mount Dora Christian Academy, Wildwood Middle High School, you can play when you're in middle school.
Right.
Some of those kids come up and play, but I think that what we're seeing at the middle school level is preparing these kids not just for athletics, but for academics as well.
No question about it. If you look at our middle schools in terms of their academic performance, I think all of our schools are certainly moving in a really good direction. Some are just have been killing it for a long time. But I think that the strength of any team is your weakest link. What does that really look like? And when you look at our academic growth across our district, we're trending in a super good direction. And that's a credit to principals, APs, classroom teachers who, those are our heroes. When you really get down to it, that classroom, when I was a former principal, I used to tell our staff, if I'm the rock star, we're not a very good school. If you're the rock star, now we got something great. So when you get into leadership, that's a fancy word for saying service. And I think our principals and APs are understanding their privilege of serving those classroom teachers to really get them prepared to impact the people we're here to serve, and that's our students. And so when you look at that type of a concept, that's exciting. And then when you plug, where does athletics fit in that? Where does fine arts fit into that? All those pieces fit into touching kids at where they're passionate about and leading them to a long-term, well-balanced academic experience. And so that's exciting. If you can't get excited about that, then you're probably in the wrong business. And but I think we got a lot of people excited about that, and that's really fun to be a part of it.
And coming from where you came from, over 36 years, you've seen a lot of different things in Lake and Sumter County. Are there any things that have worked here better than others?
Well, I think the one piece that has worked, and I don't know if it's better here than others, but I think it's better all the time, and that's when you can connect with kids. So the idea that I walk into a classroom, I was a former math teacher, and teach my math class, but I'm not connected with each kid, I don't think you can grow that classroom the way you used to. I think you've got to really know your student athletes. And the same thing when you walk in a classroom, you got to know your students. And so do I have intimate knowledge of who they are, and where, you got to meet them where they are. And so, what I don't think people understand is that, we have kids who come into our classrooms every single day who come from homes that are perfect. And then we have kids coming into our classrooms every single day where they're dealing with challenges at home that are beyond insurmountable. And so when a kid's got his head down, they're not tuning you out. They may have some issues that are different. How do we connect? And so, I'm a firm believer that rock star teacher connects with every kid where they are and is able to move them collectively to where they need to go. That works. And I think we are seeing that in spades in Lake County. I think we're having teachers make those connections. Those aren't outliers. I think those are the norms. And so, that's a skill set that's just different than curriculum. To be a great coach, to be a great teacher, I think you've got to know more than your curriculum and more than your X's and O's. I think you've got to know people. We're in the people business. And so if we can't relate to people, then I think we're struggling. If we can't relate to people of ages in which we teach, I think you're going to really struggle. When I was a principal, I had a calculus teacher that was brilliant. She was unbelievably brilliant. Problem was she couldn't connect with her students. And that was sad to see because she wanted to in such a great way. But she academically, she was off the charts, but she couldn't relate that information. So you got to be able to relate to those kids and embrace them and love them. And I know that sounds corny, but it keeps you young. I'm in year 37. I don't feel as old as my age tells me, but I can tell you right now, kids, if you can't get excited about serving kids, then I feel for you.
Yeah. You bring up a good point, and we've talked to a lot of different people on this show, and one of the things they mention, especially at the high school or middle school or any level, whatever you do, you got to wake up and you have to enjoy what you do. Because if you wake up and you're not enjoying it, I don't think that helps out at all, really.
100%. And I'll tell you, you can fool adults, you can't fool kids. Kids can just see through it. They know who's genuine, they know who's authentic, and hey, that doesn't mean that every teacher's going to have a tough day. Every coach is going to have a tough day. Everybody has life things going on. That's just part of life. But I think it's how we manage that and how we deal with it that's so important. There's been so many times in my career where I've looked back and I had a mentor that just constantly said self-reflection, honest self-reflection will really steer you in the right direction. And hey, there's been times where I thought, I didn't handle that as well as I needed to. I need to fix it. And I think owning things with your students or your student athletes is really important too. When I was a college coach and I was recruiting a kid, I wasn't in the gym unless I knew he could play. What I was looking for were those character pieces. So how do you deal with it when adversity came, when a coach got on him, when a teammate didn't make a good play because they certainly weren't at the level that he was? How did they respond to that? Those were intangibles in my environment that I needed to see. I was at an institution that was academically really, really tough, and a margin of error that if I brought the wrong student athlete in, I was going to lose my job. And so we want to recruit character first. Obviously, if they didn't have skill sets, we didn't take them. I think those same pieces are what our teachers and our coaches are hopefully molding within their classrooms.
Let's talk about the sports in our area for a little bit as well. We've got some really good sports teams that are going on. Yeah, Eustis this year that's having a terrific season, one of the top in their class, I believe. And then you also have Lake Mineola. That's a very impressive basketball team this season. And we've had in the past, Eustis softball won the state championship last year. Montverde Academy ended up winning a state championship last year. So you got a lot of great things going on in the community right now as a whole.
You know, Lake and Sumter County has been so competitive in really every sport for a long time. And when there was a period of time here just recently where if you looked at all the classifications that our schools were in, somebody in our area was representing at the Final Four in multiple sports. So obviously Eustis won the state championship in softball last year. That was their second state championship in just a short period of time. This year, Eustis basketball, Wesley's ball club's looking really good. They've got a favorable region. And he and I talked about it the other day, and I'm excited about their opportunity. And they're in a good position. I think he has scheduled really well to appropriately challenge his kids down the stretch. So as they finish up and go into district play, I'm encouraged by where they are. I think what Sean's doing at Leesburg with both the boys and girls, they're both in a really good regional draw. Girls had a great win the other night with Tampa Catholic, and the boys completed their win that night. And I really think as I watch their boys team play, their guard plays are improving, their efficiency with the basketball is improving, but I think the biggest piece is they're starting to defend at a little bit different level than they were, and I thought early in the year they struggled with that. So I'm really encouraged where they are. I think they're turning the corner at the right place. I think Mineola's in a really good position. They got a tough district. We'll see how the district play rounds out. With Max Preps, it's a little frustrating for coaches because no one will release the algorithm of what makes that thing work. And so as you look at where you are, if you're not in the top 30 in your classification, and certainly in the top 8 in your region, going into your district tournament, then you've got some work to do to make that happen. But right now, Mineola's in a good place. Both Leesburg ball clubs are in a good place. Eustis is in a good place, and Eustis girls are in a pretty good place. So we feel good about that. We got a few others that I think have a chance to make a run. Wildwood's boys team is athletic, probably not as skilled as their state championship teams were, but they got a chance to make a run, and that's exciting.
The girls team 16-0,
and the girls team is odds-on favorite to win it.
Yeah.
And they've had 2 great games against Leesburg. I'll tell you what, if you enjoy girls basketball, going to see Leesburg play, Wildwood play, those are worth going to see. And the Leesburg Tampa Catholic game the other night was a great game. Tampa Catholic was the Final Four team the year before, and they'll go back in their classification. The Leesburg Wildwood game I had a chance to see. Matter of fact, I saw you at it at Leesburg. Game-winning shot at the end, but. And both teams have grown defensively since that period of time, and I think they're a little bit better efficiently taking care of the ball. But the biggest piece is they're competing and really competing for each possession. So that's exciting to see. I think what the Villages has with both their boys and girls teams, they both have a chance to make some noise and to make some significant noise. So I mean, it's an exciting time as you look at the spring. I think we got a couple of baseball teams that have a chance to really be good again. Umatilla will be good again. Mineola has got a chance to be good. South Lake. I really like our coaching staffs across our county. In our spring sports, I feel like we got some people that are really doing it right.
Yeah,
And,
Tony Thomas over there doing a great thing.
Tony's doing a good job. Tanner's doing a good job. I like what I see at South Lake and Mineola, and of course, Mineola's got some historical people working in baseball, and so I'm excited about what they're doing. But we've got a chance, I think, to sustain success. I think the biggest piece that we want to concentrate on is how do we sustain success and build a cultural-driven program in a time frame that encourages roster rebuilds.
Yeah.
So people talk about privately the high school portal. Well, there is a high school portal. Well, it's not official, but let me tell you what, there's a portal out there, and we've got somebody recruiting your kid in every handshake line. And we want to eradicate that out of Lake County. We want to build strong programs. I thought Rick Barnes had a great statement two weekends ago. He benched his best player, a kid named Lanier out of Nashville who can really shoot the ball. And they asked me in the press conference, why'd you bench? He said, I'm paying him to shoot the ball. And everybody took offense to that. Yeah, I'm paying him $3.4 million to shoot the basketball. So what we have created is pro sports at the collegiate level. And that trickle down to the high school level is certainly here. Whether it's in, people talk about NIL. I don't think there's a ton of NIL high school deals out there, but there's a whole lot of shaking going on. And we want to make sure that we have great programs that kids can come and thrive in, both academically and athletically, but more importantly, culturally.
How do we help that? Is it legislative that needs to change? Is it at the local level? Is it just the people that you get into these positions? Like, how do you fix it?
Well, legislatively, it's certainly brought us to where we are today in terms of rules. But, I think more on a scale and trying to control the variables you can't control. I think how we go about hiring people is really, really important. And I had a mentor that, again, I think you steal things from people that of value, but hire character first. And I was at a conference out in Oklahoma City a number of years ago, and the speaker had a USA Today on your paper. He called it the C1, C2 concept. C1 was your character, C2 was your competency. He said, just read the headlines and tell me which one's a competency issue, which one's a character issue. Well, every one was a character issue. It wasn't a competency issue. So hire people of character. We can teach them competencies. And so to me, it's about, how we hire. We got to hire people who fit the mission of Lake County schools, and in particular the missions of our individual schools that are hiring them. What does that really look like? And I think we need to be intentional about thinking about that. I think we need to be laser focused about that. I want people coaching our kids that I would want my children to play for. I want people teaching in our classrooms I want my kids to be associated with. And so why would we look at athletics any differently? And I think that's where we can begin to make a difference in Lake County, is being sure that we're putting great men and women in front of our kids.
We're going to take a short break here on the Sports Hub, and we'll be right back with more with Patrick Todd.
Are you ready for your future to take flight? Whether you're graduating high school or looking to level up, Lake Sumter State College offers affordable degrees and certificates that will punch your ticket to success in a rewarding career. Plus, with programs like Direct Connect to UCF, your opportunities with LSSC are endless. So, what are you waiting for? Join us in Leesburg, Claremont, Sumterville, Four Corners, or online. Learn more at lssc.edu.
Hey everybody, we are back here on the Sports Hub. We're talking with Patrick Todd. Pat, where do you see Lake County schools in the next 5 years?
I see our school being an A and B school district, both in the high school and in the middle school, arenas. I see us athletically producing kids who are academically and athletically qualified to play on a college roster. When people say, are they all going to go to the University of Florida? That's unrealistic. But are all of those kids going to be able to maybe compete at a collegiate level at some level? I think that's a realistic goal. So how do we pair the athletic skill sets to the academic opportunities? And then the other piece of that is training coaches to market their kids to the collegiate level. So in 5 years from now, I think we'll have academic and athletically prepared student athletes to go on and embark in their classrooms on college campuses, compete at a high level academically and athletically at that level. And then hopefully we're producing kids of high character that value service, value and appreciation for others, and are skilled in their choice of profession.
And I love to when kids stay at a program, I think of Muscles Patterson actually for Leesburg High School. When you stay at a program and you're able to build success over the 4 years that you're at a program, it's always fun to see. And when you go and maybe you give back to the program, that's good to see. You're not just spending a year at a program and then it's like, okay, well, he was here for a year, but he played at different places. It's good to see these kids hoping to stay at a program and build something special.
It is, and I think we're in that crossroad period of time where people from my generation are going, all these transfers are terrible, and people from they're coaching now are going, well, it gives me a chance to get better players and all that goes with that. I think the balance has to be is, hey, we have new rules, so let's embrace those the right way. I think the spirit in which they were written isn't what's being carried out. So how do we be different? How can we be different in Lake County? I think it starts with character first. Let's hire character-driven people. Let's produce programs that people want to be at because we have excellent men and women leading them. We have great academic institutions that everything that you want to accomplish as a high school student athlete can be done at your school. Then I think that the transfer situation looks different. I don't think every transfer is a bad one. I think the transfer that bothers me is when we have adults who are in play and encouraging kids to look at things, and parents to look at things differently. So all these people that are running 7-on-7 programs with kids that aren't their players, that's a problem. All these people running AAU programs with kids that aren't their players, that's a problem. Travel baseball, travel softball, travel volleyball. Those are, we're talking about big time dollars. People make their living doing that, and they're funneling kids to different programs. I don't think that's the model that fits what we're trying to do. And I'm not saying that every 7-on-7 or coach is doing that, but most high schools have somebody in their football program associated with them that are running 7-on-7.
Yeah.
Most high schools have someone associated with their basketball program that's coaching an AAU basketball program. Some of that's even done in-house. And so if that's a training ground for your current student athletes, that's fantastic. But if we're bringing people in from the outside, what's the purpose of that? The purpose is typically to bring a kid to your school. I don't think that's the spirit in which we ought to operate in, and I'm not sure that what's being promised to parents can be delivered. I was once a college coach, but I'm not today. Yeah. I have no scholarship that I can guarantee I could give you or your son. But we have a lot of adults out there who says, well, if you come here, if we go there, you're going to get recruited differently. They can't control that. And the reality of it is the high school kid right now is the last kid getting recruited to start with because it starts in the portal. And then it's the JUCO kid, and then it's the high school player. So the high school kid is really in a tough spot. If you're not academically prepared, then I don't think every opportunity is coming to you the way it did 10 or 15 years ago.
Amazing insights. Thank you so much for coming on to our program. It's been amazing to just listen to you and just so much history that you have in our area and just what you bring to the area. We thank you for what you're doing for all our schools.
Well, it's a privilege to be in this role and hope I can be effective.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on to our program. That's going to do it for the Sports Hub this week. I want to thank Pat Todd for coming on, and I want to thank our partners that make it all happen, Lake Sumter State College, as well as UF Health Medical Group Orthopaedics. That's going to do it for this week. We'll see you on next week's edition of the Sports Hub.
This has been the Style Sports Hub, presented by UF Health Medical Group Orthopaedics.